Hi, today I have the opportunity to interview an incredible artist. They're known around STL as your punk psychedelic raver girl, but they are so much more than that. They are art, love, expression, authenticity, and inspiration. They are a creative icon making waves in STL. I can't wait to dig a little more into their story. I'm so thankful to have them here today. Korra DeVil, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hello, I'm Korey, also known as Korra DeVil, 23-year-old drag queen from Southern Illinois, about an hour south of St. Louis. I started off down here and slowly worked my way up to SCL, so I'm happy to be on the show and be talking with you. I'm excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. I'm really excited to dig into your story. I think you are such an incredible artist. I think you have such an incredible sense of creativity and self-expression and authenticity. And give me what your life story has been so far.
Grew up down here in Colderville, Illinois, a small town, don't know many people. Kind of got picked on, was the sole gay kid all the way through school. Like, really, it was about senior year in high school. I finally took liberty of my identity and I guess I stood up for myself finally. I mean, my senior year prom, I went in full drag with my best friend who also did boy drag. And we kind of opened doors for our community to be able to grow in these small towns. Flash forward a few years, I start performing down here in Carbondale. And that slowly gets me into the community to where I performed in like Evansville, Indiana, Cape Girardeau, St. Louis, gotten trips up to Chicago and this and that just off of drag. And from there, I have grown. And in the past year, I have gotten not one, but two of my own shows, one of which is in that hometown, and the other one is in a town right over. So slowly opening doors for my community in this lovely little area that is Southern Illinois.
Wow, that's incredible. So tell me about a little bit about the time between, I suppose, your senior prom and where you are now. I mean, it looks like the landscape of your life has changed completely.
I mean, yeah, the landscape looks like Squidward, but it's like I think it took me doing like full drag at my prom around everyone that had bullied me, picked on me, threatened me for like all these years, the people that I let give power over me. Like just showing that side of myself that night in front of all those people really like flipped my mind because that was the first night I felt actually fully accepted by everyone I was surrounded by in that high school. And that was the first time that I was truly fully like myself. And that just pushed me to stay doing me and stay being authentic to my message, my drive, and my love for the people on this world. Like, and not only that, but the love for myself. Like, it really kind of pushed me to keep myself at the forefront, but think about others while moving, if that makes sense.
And so tell me more about that element of loving people.
Like, let me tell you, first off, it is very hard to love people, a lot of people, because as you have seen as well as I, this world is kind of getting a little hectic and crazy right now. But at the root of it all, I know love wins any kind of battle you put it up against. So in the root of everything I do, it's mainly like love letters to whether it be like certain people, certain groups, minorities that just need a little extra love or a shoulder to cry on that have been like picked on, like the trans community recently with the bills, or women once Roe v. Wade overturned. Like, it's like everything I do is out of love because I feel like that is the strongest power, at least that I'm capable of producing for people. Like, come up and let me give you hugs. Let me make sure you feel welcome. Because at the end of the day, if you feel good, you're going to do good. So I think if you just make people smile, that can make all the difference in a day and the world.
Wow. All right, we talk about like greatest life advice ever received. Love
Thank you.
always wins. Wow. So you're originally from Carbondale, Southern Illinois.
Yes. Well, Coulterville. Carbondale is where I started performing. It's like it almost sounds the same in the name, but like about an hour in between two. Like I am right in between St. Louis and there for perspective.
You talked about, being picked on and singled out as a kid. Tell us a little bit about that environment.
Yeah, so around here it's kind of like mainly like farmer driven, if you kind of get what I'm saying. Like a lot of people have those old like set in their ways, like you're gonna grow up, you're gonna like farm, you're gonna take care of your family with your wife and your kids. It's almost a very like Southern hospitality-ish like lifestyle they choose to live, even though none of them really have Southern hospitality. But it's like if you don't meet up to that standard to a T around here, you're just gonna get looked at, if not threatened, if not attacked. Like there's a lot of closeted people in this area that have come to me in confidence because they knew I wouldn't go and say anything about it because I know how hard this area is to live. So it's like it's just a big area full of fear because of the majority here being these either racist, homophobic, bigoted, like set in one way, like well, there was one word I heard the other day. I don't know. It was like a hyper Christian kind of thing, like the ones that are so deluded into their path that they can't see anything else and they will only accept that one thing. There's a lot of that around this area. And I've seen it affect a lot of kids. I was the only one that I was like, I'm not going to necessarily take this shit and change who I am for you. But I was the voice for a lot of the kids around here who would come to me and like quiet and be like, I just appreciate you for being you. Like, keep doing that because I wish I could feel that confident. And I'm like, you can. And, you know, I would start spreading that message. Like, the majority around here really does like to put people down, or at least they did back when I was in high school. Let me say that. I don't think times have changed much from what I've heard from my little brother's experiences and my cousins, but like, it's a lot of just putting down to feel better around here. So if you can just kind of be aware of that mindset and mentality that these people work on, you can kind of see past that BS. You know what I'm saying? Like once you kind of figure out their system, you can break it. But it takes a while. Took me 17 years.
To be that strong, to be that resilient? Like what does that process look like for you?
Definitely a lot of sitting with myself at night. You know, I can't do what I do and not be real when I come home because when I come home, you know, doesn't matter what kind of night I've had, I have willingly put myself at risk of danger, life threatening danger by just presenting myself the way I did that night. So thinking about where those repercussions can go, because like say you have a great night, you get home safe from the gig still in drag, but someone followed you from that gig just to hurt you, you know, like that risk is very real still. We still see a lot of shootings at clubs, even like the Colorado one being I think like the most recent that at least we know about. um but it's like there's a lot of fear that comes with being this strong, but it's like in my mindset, I tell myself, like, you knew what you signed up for when you did this, and that's why you're doing this because you want to put yourself in the spot to be the vulnerable one so other ones can feel safe. Like, I'm fine with sticking up for the underdogs, regardless of how I'm going to end up. You know, I really do put other people before myself a lot. So it's like, once I go out, show all the love, have a good time, make everyone feel good. It's like once you get home, you got to sit and then you got to ask, are you okay? Are you good? And then, you know, you got to just make sure you feel out what you feel out because if you start harboring in all those feelings, especially doing this kind of work, it can add up to be detrimental to the mental. So it's for me, it's just about let it flow through, just like the water sign that I am, let it flow. So I just try to keep that in my mind whenever things get rough. You know, just let it flow, let it flow, let it flow.
We live in a world that's so focused on, I think, especially, you know, with the commodification, I suppose, of like mental health conversations. So, you know, what are your boundaries? How do you feel safe? How do you feel comfortable all the time? How do we feel comfortable and safe? And how do we put up walls so that people may not ever really see us? And to be
Exactly. How do we
seen in
mask?
a way, oh my goodness, like to be seen in the way that you're seen, you know, like there's so many people who are going to look at you and be inspired, but most people aren't. And dealing with that and being on I suppose the cutting edge of that, you know, and especially in a community that doesn't accept that.
Mhm. Yeah, And I think like the biggest like step to take is taking that first big step into the waters. Like for me, I didn't just all of a sudden boom here show up and drag at this high school. Like no, I slowly started wearing like fake nails because I like nail polish, so I would like change them out and show people. And once I seen people were receptive to that, that's when I started to implement doing a little bit of eyeshadow at school or wearing a little bit of lipstick or like I do now with the contour with the blush. I just would do this for natural school days just cuz. And it's like I slowly started in like integrating it into my routine because of the comfortability I started to have with it, but it takes you taking that first scary step of trying something out for you to end up finding your road to comfortability. So I think a lot of people just need to really trust in themselves that they know themselves well enough to do what's comfortable for them. So they just need to go ahead and take that step and start doing that. Like, trust your gut, baby.
I mean, taking those first steps too, like, is sometimes
They're
tough.
tough, but they can feel the most rewarding at the end. Those first steps are the ones that you're going to remember when you've grown. So I think it's just like people just do it. Just do it. Like Nike said, just do it.
Your community. Um, prior to you kind of self-actualizing and finding kind of your voice, I suppose. Where did you find kind of where you were able to understand yourself and be yourself?
Honestly, it took me a while for like every little stage. Like it took me a while to understand like that I was gay because like when I was 13 is when I discovered when I was gay. Like or I discovered what gay was. Let me reword that. Like I had no idea about any kind of LGBT whatever before that. I was totally clueless even though people would call me gay, call me queer, all this shit. I had no clue about it until 13 hit. And then slowly over time, I realized, yeah, I'm gay. And then over time, I realized I was gender fluid. Like it was like in stages for me because of the people I was around. It wasn't, I didn't surround myself with people that were the majority, not on purpose, but because I just really like the oddballs. I like the weirdos. They intrigue me. They have deeper stories, they have bigger triumphs. Like, I really love an underdog, and I have ever since I was young. So, it came from like taking all these little minorities, underdogs, and outcast stories and molding them into how I'm going to push myself in life. They helped me discover who I was because they're the ones that showed me where to look up the information. They're the ones that encouraged me to learn the terminologies. They're the ones that teach or taught me like a bunch of what I learned at the beginning of my coming out story. So I really found it in like my friends, the ones that probably don't normally get talked to much. Those people that have their own struggles but they keep to themselves. If you listen to them, you will kind of understand you're not as bad either because if someone else can go through something a little worse or something even littler and it just resonates with you, it'll probably just connect to where you feel a little bit more comfortable in yourself. Everyone experiences different levels of emotions with different things, but I think if you just find people that connect with you and really hit to your soul when they talk, you will find yourself in that. And that's how I did it. I just relied on amazing people who are very intelligent and very soulful when they speak and very caring. You got to talk to people that you can trust. So go make some friends, go talk to new people because they might show you a side of yourself you didn't even know.
To be quote unquote radical in the way society would define it
Mm.
isn't necessarily what is radical, right? And we look at history, like
Yeah.
history repeats itself, and then the radical things are the normal things, but they've been reframed in different cultures and societies. So I guess I say all that to say, some people, I suppose, I wonder if they're hungry for something different, if they're happy in comfort and conformity.
I can speak from personal experience, and I found a place in discomfort before, that felt like comfort. And, I think that at least in this area, just because of the lack of diversity, you don't really see people like me even walking around these streets. You don't see people like you walking around these streets. Like, I literally went to high school with 3 people of color total out of like 1,000 kids. And we don't get the diversity to really kind of open our eyes around here. So I think a lot of people have gotten comfortable in the not knowing and the discomfort that this area can also bring. And I think that can also span to like anywhere. If you find discomfort somewhere and you just kind of find a home in that feeling, you'll kind of get stuck and you won't. I want to claim it as like you will get stagnant. Like you'll kind of just sit there and stuff will grow on top of it, but it's not ever going to be some good stuff. Like stagnant water, you get mosquitoes growing in stagnant water, and you don't want that. And flowing water is where you see the flowers and the plants and the fish and the beauty. So it's like that's why I say keep flowing. I relate a lot of stuff to like the movement of water. I'm very spiritual too, so it's like I think the people might also be scared because of the like how you kind of said the extreme radical reactions that people like us get for just existing. I don't think it's more so about like who you are, it's about that reaction. And people are scared. I mean, look at what we have to fear nowadays. We have to fear gun violence, we have to fear like murderers, we have to fear serial killers. Like there's a lot in this world to fear. So I think it's like we think too much on the reaction of others rather than how we're going to feel from being ourselves. So I think a lot of people also just don't put themselves to the forefront whenever they think about stuff like that. They'd rather think about other people's reactions. I mean, that's why I didn't display myself in high school for so long, because you had to mask for what you thought everyone else wanted. I don't know. There's a lot down here that influences people that I know stay quiet, because I've talked to a lot of closeted people around here and they find comfort in just not people not knowing. So I always tell people, I'm like, don't step out of where you're not comfortable with. Like, don't push yourself where you don't feel like you can step yet comfortably. Do it on your own time, but don't also put yourself on the back burner. Like, keep yourself at the forefront. Don't think about how other people are going to think about you. Think about yourself going through this journey, because you need to do the work to where you can feel comfortable living as your true self in your home, at your work, going out, anywhere. I think a little bit of all of us have something in the back of our head that makes us not comfortable fully with ourselves. Just a little bit here and there, like those little insecurities that get to people. So it's just about beating those.
I love it. I really do. And I'm just absorbing all the wisdom. So much there. You're engaging in a task that people are sometimes afraid to engage with their entire lives. People, generations come and go without realizing who they are or how they want to present themselves in this world.
Yeah, I think nowadays that we have gender being such a main thing in like the media, and actually we're having like, even though they're anti bill, like trans bills, anti-gender affirming bills coming out, it's still bringing the knowledge to the forefront to the general public. And with that comes a whole new discussion on gender. And I always have this kind of talk with other people around this area, and it kind of opens their eyes too. But I always tell them, I'm like, now that we can change our physical, we need to start looking at gender as a mental thing, because up here before you change your body that you are that gender. That's why you change it. So it's like gender isn't the physical. That's just what I always say the default setting is. But, that's where we start. But up here is what takes it on its journey. Even if you don't alter your body, it's still the brain that controls your body's growth. So it's like, I think we need to push the talk from gender rather than focusing on physical to focusing on mental. And I think it ties in with mental health too. Because it took me getting in good mental health to finally understand my identity and have it be clear, and not only that, like it took deep research. It took seeing people on television, having references for me to kind of start to relate to people. And I think that's why it's so important we have the representation we do and the knowledge about the things we do now, because we can start changing the conversations. We can start having more knowledge on our communities. And, we can form, I think, more well-rounded arguments as the years go on for why we just deserve to be here to the people that don't understand it. Just how I've been able to open people's minds with saying, like, how about you stop thinking about gender as a physical thing, and why don't you look at it as a mental? Like, do you know you're a boy or a girl? Yes? No? Okay, what's telling you that? Your brain, not your sex organ. It doesn't talk.
I like that. Two things. You approach people with love, which is already uncommon and often radical in a lot of ways, and B, to be able to engage people in these conversations when I suppose my assumption, and this will be a great place to challenge me, like my assumption, even in my world, having grown up in St. Louis as the most diverse school in the state, Pineville High School, my friends who wanted to express their gender differently, who wanted to step out, didn't feel physically safe enough to do so, even if they had done the work, mentally, to really reevaluate all of the assumptions that have been ingrained to us.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that down here where and I can express it from my own experience in high school. I did not feel physically safe either. Like or in grade school. Like I would come home, like I vividly remember getting held down on the bus and kicked in my area down there until I went home and peed blood. I was 7 years old. So you know, I have feared for my own physical safety a lot. And I know a lot of people that have as well. With that being said, the talk that I had to have with myself to overcome that, I guess, mental obstacle of wondering, am I going to be physically safe or not, and just do it, was I took a look around and I seen all the people that were hurting because they didn't feel like they could express themselves. I felt that too because I didn't express myself, but as I felt it, I got more angry that they couldn't do it than I could. So I started doing it. So people would look, I guess, more so at me than these people so they could have their own little safe, like, oh, hey, I'm the distraction. Like, let them exist, but I'm over here focused on me. Like, I didn't care to step in the way of dangerous situations and put myself at the forefront to protect other people. And I think that's one talk that I had to have with myself is that I'm going to have to, one, be willing to put myself in dangerous situations. And two, I'm going to have to defend myself whatever way I need to if it comes to it. I'm never like a violent person. I don't believe in anything like that. I'm one of the most like pacifistic, I think that's the word, people or you could ever meet. Like I'm a tree hugger at the end of the day. But one very real topic of discussion that LGBT people or even just minorities in America anymore need to have with themselves is you might have to put your life on the line or someone else's life on the line to be standing up for what you want to speak on and living authentically at this point. But it's by doing that that we will be able to do that comfortably someday. This fight ain't gonna be worth nothing. This is gonna be worth something, and I think people just struggle to believe that they're gonna make that impact too by doing these things. But it really is one small step for mankind every step of the way. We just got to kind of rebuild up where we were.
And I love how you think about that as those small steps, right? Because the way I typically thought about it, I guess prior is like, okay, it has to be this huge step and there needs to be huge progress here and there needs to be moving systems and changing things and changing people's minds and living authentically at every moment and holding yourself to high expectations.
Yeah.
Like as it extends to you, like I'm saying, you do this on such a different level. And to exist in that space, you say you see the need. I think it's tough because the fronts that people put on are often impenetrable. So how are you able to see through that need or even acknowledge, like not maybe doubt yourself on this journey of trying to understand yourself in the world?
Um, well, it took, I think, whenever I was getting bullied as a kid, and I sat by myself like home alone a lot. Like I didn't really have many friends. My best friend was my mom, and that's still that way. I love my mom, but it took a lot of sitting with myself to find out my quirks, my differences, every little different thing about me slowly. But I had the time to like just sit with myself. I think that's where the lack of doubting myself comes from because I'm very firm in who I am, what I believe, and I know what I'm here to do. And I'm not going to let anyone else tell me what I'm here to do because no one's been in this brain. And trust me, probably no one around here could handle it. So, you know, I I live by a mantra when even putting myself into the situations to deal with people, anyone. Like there's a mantra that I live my life by, and it's one that my best friend told me years ago, and ever since it clicked. It's like everybody is a piece of shit. Just do not be an exceptional piece of shit. So I always think about that. I'm like, everyone's got their flaws, everyone has their downfalls, but just don't try to get yourself there. So it's like I can look at someone spouting off this hate at me and know that they're just instead of in my head getting hateful, just understanding they're probably uneducated or they might not just have the proper information on the subject, and they're probably just fueled by inner insecurity. Like, I can understand where a root of a problem lies as soon as I see it, because I've seen so much of it around here and dealt with so much. Like, around here, I really am a lot of people's first experience to a modern gay person who like does drag and is very out there and unapologetic. I'm a lot of these people's first impression of that, especially working at a local gas station, like smack dab in the middle of town. I see all walks of life around here, and they have to see me if they want their darn cigarettes. So, I exchanged with a lot of people. Even my own boss or husband at one point was a little bit on the homophobic side and just kind of standoffish and scared of me. But over time, I've warmed him up to me. But like it's certain people that'll allow you to do that, that you kind of can work with, and then they can work where you can't, if that makes sense. Like, that's kind of how I've operated down here. Like, the people I can reach and communicate with and have those sit downs with, I'll talk to them because I know they'll spread that message elsewhere, and they'll defend me elsewhere, and that will start a spider web effect. Because now if this one person knows this knowledge, they can tell all their people who will tell all their people. Really, it's just about sharing my experience with people and telling them, like, listen, we might not agree, we might have different perspective, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk about drag.
Okay, well, I knowingly got into drag, and I say knowingly for a reason. I knowingly got into drag when I I found out about it when I was 14. And I found out about it because of this person's autograph right here, which happens to be Willem's. They are like literally my idol with drag. I love Willem, their aesthetic, their personality, everything. I love them, and I got to see them live. It was great. But I found Willem's beatdown one day on YouTube just randomly. Them and then Alaska Thunderfucks, your makeup is terrible. And I was like, what the fuck? Why do these women sound like men? So, and I didn't piece it together at first. I couldn't. I don't know why. And then so I did more deep diving and more research, and then I stumbled upon Drag Race, and I was like, what's this? Um, and now back to why I say knowingly, with doing drag at like 14, 15. Because if I go back to like the archives of my baby pictures, I wore my mom's dresses everywhere. At the age of 3, I vividly remember having my purple like tulle tutu that my grandma got me at a yard sale that I'd wear every time I went over there. I was the yellow Power Ranger, which was a girl and had a skirt for my kindergarten Halloween parade here in town. So like I really did drag at the age of 5. Let's be real, right in front of this whole town. Like started off early, but I got really into it once I discovered those videos at like 14. So then at 15 is when I started playing with like makeup and stuff. When my mom would go like out to work or whatever, I'd play with her shit. And that damn Matte Moose foundation that turned you orange. Oh my god, the pictures are terrible. But you gotta start somewhere. And that's where I started. Um, and slowly I became like a bedroom queen. I would just like practice at home or at school even. And I just I didn't take the first jump until I went to my high school prom in full drag. Like, I mean, I would go to the store in like a wig and makeup, but like the rest be like not there, like, but it took me getting ready for prom to like make the body pads, to get the hairstyle, to get the nails, to get the accessories, to get my ears pierced, a little bit of everything. Like, that's what fully made me commit to it and jump in. And then once I felt that like loving and accepting energy as soon as I walked in those doors, like the whole room changed. I really wish every single queer person could feel that kind of experience when they walk into a room, like that they made that difference. But I know I did. Like, it's just you felt the weight lift. And feeling that is what told me, okay, this is what I am supposed to be doing. This is what I love. This is what brings me happiness, is this kind of weightlifting moment. And ever since then, that kind of feeling is what I try to produce in my performance and in my art, is like, let me lift that weight off you. Like, I could be performing the most serious song ever, but making you laugh while I'm doing it, just so you're having a good time. I mean, the goal is really just to fill people with happiness. So from that stemmed to me volunteering at this college. We're in Lake College. It's nearby. That's where my drag daughter actually goes, one of them. And I met this girl named Bailey, who introduced me to her mom, Tara, when we did the musical, The Addams Family. And I was like, let me help on makeup. Like, that's how we got talking. And then I showed them my drag. We'll come to find out they work for the Rainbow Cafe down in Carbondale, which is a queer organization. And so she got me my first booking at their first ever Pride here at a Christian youth center. Like, how wild for a first gig. And my mom showed up, my dad showed up with my little brother and my stepmom. Like, I got adopted into a family that I'm now no longer part of, but it was still nice to be surrounded by so much love. And then that's where I got my first, I want to say, local experience, because technically my first time performing was in Evansville, Indiana, because they allowed 18 and up, and I was still like 18. I was a little baby at this one club, so I went all the way over there with like now my ex to go do a gig. He's like, well, I'm gonna enter the strip contest at the joint, and I'm like, well, I'll enter the drag show. We'll see what we can get. And it was fun. It was a good time. Started in a strip club.
And I love that. I love that through line, right? In that sense of like community and love. Like, I feel people need that, like you talked about.
Very much. It gave the younger queer people that were still in that high school, like, I think the hope to get through high school, because like this place could be hard for a lot of people. Like, I mean, I got threatened with everything up and down, but it's all bark, no bite here. And once I clicked with that, I could live freely. And, I think that once people seen me do that, they realized these people are all bark, no bite once I walked out looking even better than I did when I walked in? So, it's like that first big step that'll show everyone and yourself that like it's worth taking the step. And that was mine. And ever since I've been taking high heel struts.
Well, I guess the reason I asked that question is how did you get to that point to where, I mean, there has to have been times where you felt undersupported and you've doubted yourself and you've wanted to give up.
Yeah, yeah. And it was those moments that got me to these, because and I want to think it like started off real early in my life when I kind of slowly seen my family wasn't my family, if that makes sense. Like, they weren't going to be the ones there supporting me. And I'm very fortunate to have the few family members that actively support me that I do. But it's enough. I can count on probably like maybe two hands, and that's it. So it was me going through the bullying at a young age and not having that family to necessarily like rely on fully as that support, to then go to myself and get that support from myself. Like, I still to this day even struggle with really hard times being able to admit that I am enough for myself, and a sense of support and a sense of love and a sense of care. Like, I have those doubts even still my own self. But that's when I look back on the times when I really truly was alone, because right now I'm not. I do have resources. I just have to make forth the effort to get them. But it's like I look back to when I truly did not have those resources, and I say, bitch, if you could get through that, you can push through this. Come on, let's go. Just message a friend and get out your element. And I step outside your house, like, breathe. Just over time, you will start to find the coping mechanisms for yourself that work for you, that will get you out of those situations. And for me, I was that coping mechanism. I would talk to myself. I would like hug my fucking little stuffed animals. So I got a whole little section of them. This one, to be precise, this was the exact one as I was a kid. And I would find comfort in things that I guess could be considered like a red ball effect, like how people are like, they need something to snap them to reality. Like, they know this is real. This is in front of them. They can touch, feel, hear, see, smell. This is reality. For whenever things get overwhelming. And for me, I would just find my red balls, my stuffed animals, my hair. I had short hair, but I'd always play with it. I would sit and play with my clothes, just like fiddle my fingers, like fidget. You know, Once you find the things that snap you to reality, you can de-escalate those situations a lot easier. So I think it's just about looking into yourself deep enough to find what snaps you to reality, for you to wake up from your own self even. And it took a lot of work for me to even snap out of my own influence, because sometimes I got to take a step back in my own self and be like, whoa, 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 you're doing too much. Take a breath. Let's breathe. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's look around, observe, and then be. It's all about getting yourself wound down. And I think finding that red ball is that good, I want to say, a tool, if not a resource, to use to get yourself on the winding down from when shit gets heavy in your head or gets hard in life with all the influences coming your way. Like, whatever you can do to wind yourself down, do it. Find one thing that makes that big impact and do it. That's the one thing you don't gotta take any opinion from other people about. That's the one thing you don't gotta listen to anyone about. Like, do you think I care if anyone sees me hugging my stuffed animals? No. Because at the end of the day, that's what's gonna calm me down when I get overwhelmed. You know, and you gotta be proud that you have things that help you. Like, if I wasn't proud that I hold little bunnies and feel comforted, do you think I'd have them displayed all on my couch? No. But you have to admit with yourself, like, yes, this is where I find my comfort. This is where I find my safety. This is where I find my peace, and this is where I can start to think. It's about getting to that spot, that sweet spot in the brain between overwhelmed and not stimulated enough.
And then that's the challenge, right? It's like it's trying to find that sense of peace, like that real authentic sense of peace, to be able to get through. And I think like the narrative of so much of like I suppose like our modern understanding of like our modern understanding of human flourishing is push through, grind,
Yeah,
high
like you
expectations,
gotta work.
work. I really struggle with that. I naturally have high expectations for myself.
Oh, me too.
And I
Me very much
struggle
too.
between trying to find like the high expectations, but then also giving myself grace, right? And I think I've been very privileged throughout my life to have resources, and I'm always going to be grateful for those resources. And I think it informed the way I came to college, losing a lot of the critical support that I had in high school, where I had friends who, occupied marginalized identities, and going to a space where there weren't any marginalized identities, encountering these different stories and starting to carry the world on my shoulders. So anyway, this has been my story, but I say all that to ask the question: how do you get to that point, simultaneously wanting to have those high expectations, but simultaneously being nice for yourself for not meeting those expectations? I think it's a place to be.
It's a really good little piece of advice that I've been able to pass on to a few friends, actually, and this kind of enlightens. But just like you did this, you're not aiming, and we should never aim for these two. These are extremes. These are on the ends of the spectrum. I don't think people know where to aim because they want to aim for, oh, we have to strive for world peace. We have to work. Like, no, we're never, I don't think, gonna achieve what people's idea of world peace is. Now, world balance, on the other hand, that is a different thing. So just like you held these here, just like they're on a scale, you don't want one to outweigh the other. You want to find that in between. So when it comes to my thought process on life, people, and experiences I have, I'm not looking for things that are going to be peaceful. I'm not looking for things that are going to be happy. I'm not looking for things that are going to be sad or depressing or let me down. I'm looking for balance. So with that comes the good and the bad. The bad is there to make us appreciate how good we have it, and the good is there to make us realize where we don't want to be aiming for, the bad. So if you have an equal amount of those, I think you get on a good balance. If you can sit back and understand the good's here to teach me a lesson, the bad's here to teach me a lesson, you'll be calm, you'll be confident, and you'll be able to start taking the steps into inner workings. We don't, I don't think we as humans or society should ever look for that idea of peace, because that can change so much. What we need to look for is balance, where everything is evenly taken care of, evenly distributed to, like care is to this, is to this. We need to balance ourselves, because if we take care of a little bit of everything, we can breathe easier, we can think easier, we can be able to move forward as groups or individuals easier. Because once we find that good in between, like almost a compromise within our own self, we can start to move forward. So it's all about finding that inner balance rather than that inner peace, I think. Like, you got to accept the bad, just like you got to accept the good. If you want the good, you got to have the bad. If you want the bad, you got to have the good, which I don't know anyone that wants bad. But actually, never mind, check that. I know some pretty evil people around this area. So just think of life as a scale. You want it to be even. You don't want it to overbalance. You don't want it to be too extreme on one side and not enough on the other. Like, you want that balance. And I think people just struggle to put words to that. But once they understand that they're looking for balance, equal good parts bad, they'll start to find that comfort zone that's right in the middle. where they can, like I said, work on their problems or other people's, or be able to communicate. And that's in the back of my head when even I communicate with people that view things differently than me, that come off very harsh. It's like, you're filling it with too much of this, let's fill it with this, or how about you look at it this way? Yes, you can be right on this stance and you can believe this, but why don't you also look at it this way too? Like, offer different perspectives, because that can also help with balance. Like, who's to say two scales weighing down one way isn't gonna lift up the one? Like, no, we can balance 3 scales, 4 scales. You can take care of as many things you want, as long as you're looking for that balance in between.
Wow. That's $500 worth of game right there.
Shoot, let me just open up my counseling firm real quick. Even though I have a counseling appointment tomorrow.
All right, let me get off your couch real quick. Let's talk more about drag. I'm really excited. Tell us some of your favorite moments or experiences exploring your art.
Oh my God, I have a lot. I've done a lot of wild stuff. Let me just say that. But I'd say one of my favorites is definitely 2019 Southern Illinois Pride. I, along with the Pride Court, did every single show down there. I was the only one that was not in Pride Court that did every single show, even in bars that I shouldn't have been in because I wasn't 21 yet. They were like, as long as you don't drink, you can perform. And I mean, I don't drink even to this day, and I'm 23. So that was never an issue. So I'll say 2019 was fun because it was like next gig, another club, like that Lady Gaga audio. Um, and I even got put in a dunk tank for 2 hours and my makeup didn't budge. Not even once didn't budge. Just like it didn't budge in the rain for this rally for expression I did last month up in St. Louis. That was fun. Um, as fun as a protest can be. But it was nice to feel the community, and it was fun in a sense of seeing everyone be one. Like, it was nice to feel that power that we really do have when we unite. Hate the reason we were there, though. We should not have to be constantly fighting for trans rights or LGBTQ rights or women's rights or POC rights. But yet, here we are. So I'm going to be putting up this fight until the day I fucking croak or get put down on the damn streets of that fight. I will go to that link. And that's another fun thing about my drag, is I really will go to those extremes to represent, to stand up, and to be a good, in a sense, I want to say role model for my community. So that way we can start having the better perceptions of us being displayed. Because I know a lot of shows, like if you even look back on old Jerry Springer, which rest in peace, Maury, even Steve Wilkos, they promoted a lot of stereotypes of minorities to get the views, the ratings, and to fuel this narrative. And I think a lot of that has still even fueled our local, like, people around, at least in the Midwest, that don't have much to diversity compared to like cities like New York or California. It's still kind of pigeonholed them there. Because I mean, just like myself, every Saturday or sick day at school, I was watching Jerry Springer when I was home as a kid. So over time it conditions you to these ideas, of these stereotypes. And I'm here to break out of that and be like, no, 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 we ain't all that. That's just what you guys see for the views. That's what draws you in for the attention, because that's what you truly believe we are. But this is really what we are. Let me give you a real look at what a queer person is, a queer indigenous person is, you know. And not only that, a drag performer who is gender fluid. Let me show you what that is, And that's why I think each of us individually, minority, queer, whatever you fall under, if you have a difference, speak that shit, because every single difference makes us matter more, and it will also educate others more. Because not everyone shares our story, not everyone shares our background. There's only probably like maybe a handful of people on this entire world that will even come close to sharing the same kind of background, story, path as you. And even then, it's probably maybe only one other person that might come barely close. We all have unique experiences. We all have unique perspectives, and the more we vocalize those and educate the public around us on our experiences, I think the more we'll be understood. And that's why I also do my drag. It was fun being able to go to that Pride in 2019 and speak on behalf of the youth, because I always do the youth shows down there. Every year, no matter how old I get, I will always do the youth shows so I can work with the youth, because they are our future. They are who I do my true drag for, because they're the ones that are still not able to have their voice fully yet. Like they can't actually go out there, they can't vote, they can't go and protest without being at real danger for like, because if there's anti-protesters to what we're going, you know damn well they're going to go to those kids before they go to anything and scare the crap out of them, just like they do at these drag queen story times. um so it's like I do what I do for the future generations that don't have a voice right now. I'm speaking up for them because, and I've spoken to a lot of them. I use a lot of their beliefs and ideas about our future to push me to our future because I really believe that they have great ideas. I even believe my generation's so way behind on where these kids are pushing us, like, and that's why I really listen to people like my little brother who's almost 16 or my cousins who are just entering high school. Like that generation has something special to them. And I think they're going to be like the first generation that is going to take us to the place where we can finally find home in our homes, and find home in our communities, places we never thought we would. And I'm just hoping that I can kickstart a few of them into maybe the career of drag because drag is very political. It gives them a platform to use their amazing beliefs and voices to influence a whole nother generation of people being more progressive. I really do what I do for the youth that I believe should try this art form, that have the voices that this kind of platform with this art form deserves. There's a lot of us, sadly, in our community, even in St. Louis, that stay quiet on a lot of the events going around. So anything I can do to influence the kids, like any youth show I've ever done, I enjoy because they're the ones that are already speaking out. So if we get them in our career, oh, we're gonna have powerhouses, baby. Like there was one youth show I'll never forget. They were like, "Will you come up and do this Lady Gaga song with me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I just ended up having to take a step back as they were doing more tricks than I could do. And I'm the stunt queen down here. I was the cartwheeling girl. And this little kid showed me up. I said, "Okay, bye. Here's my check. Go ahead and cash the check and go." And thankfully enough, that person is now my drag daughter. So, I have a lovely family from this area and even STL that I brought up.
How you perform at your drag shows? What is the setup like? What's the environment, the atmosphere?
Oh, so at my drag shows, at least the energy that I try to produce, I try to put you into, and I think it was Kitty Litter from St. Louis, love her to death. She said it best. My first night performing in St. Louis, she said, "Girl, you made me feel like I was tripping on acid." And that's what I aim for. I aim for an open perspective that is just making you feel like you're tripping out, like you're fully eyes wide open, just seeing some wild, cool, fun stuff. You know, I try to make every single person that's in that venue feel like they're a part of the show. I will connect with every single person. My eyes will look you dead in the eyes when I'm performing. Like, I'm going to make you feel like you're present. But it's like, I'm also going to make you open your mind. I'm going to do these weird songs that maybe you wouldn't think to listen to that you might now like. I'm going to do these weird artists you've never heard about because you only want to listen to top 50. Like, and it's like, I don't like doing the mainstream because it's like, why not be the different one? Why not be something that stands out? Um, and that's why I adopted the one I was just referencing, my drag daughter, Tara Toma. They're a lovely trans individual by the name of Imogen. I think they're 20, almost two. But we did my first show down here at that youth center, was their first show too. So we did our first show down here together. And, so I was a few years ahead of them, so I had gotten some experience, but they were very alternative, like just like me. I consider myself an alternative queen. Um, but so I brought them in, I raised them up like a little baby they were. I got them their first few gigs, and I was like, "Come with mama. It's an 18 and up gig. Come on, you can do it." There was even one time we did a show on December 23rd, right before Christmas Eve, and it was us and Misty Terrain at a Discovery night up in St. Louis, and we just had a ball and went out to eat after, made it a whole family thing. Like she was my only baby for the longest, so I I really spent a lot of time nurturing her and finding out how to even be a good influence for the youth, like I was just talking about, by just encouraging them to push what they like to do and what they're comfortable with. Like, I mean, my drag daughter's a contortionist. You don't see me doing that. Like, I can't put my heel in my rib like she can, but you know what? I'm damn well going to tell her, no, do that more often. Like, you should show that weird side. You should do your weird sporadic, like, she calls them her little, like, computer glitch movements. Like, do that, because you're going to do that better than anyone else out here. But are you going to do what they're doing better than them? Probably not. So focus on what you're doing, baby. And that's how I lead my whole family. I now got like I think 4 or 5 kids. I think 4. Yeah, I got 4. And they have drag kids already too. So I'm a drag grandma. They making me old and shit. Like
No way.
I know. I let one loose into Kentucky and she fucking had a kid. That whore. You know, God, what was the question? I forget
I honestly couldn't tell you. What does your art mean to you?
Oh, this is a big one. So my art for me means unfiltered self-love because baby, I don't give when I'm in drag, to put this in like the least rude sounding ways, I don't give a fuck about what anyone else has to say. Like that is the one time that I am what I want to be without anyone else's opinion. I know what I am, I know what I'm here to do, and I'm gonna do it. I know I'm good at what I do. I mean, I can take opinions, yes, but like it's the one place I allow myself to be fully expressive in my authenticity. You know, it lets me look a little weird. It lets me look a little scary. It lets me look a little happy. Like, you know, it makes me look a little like a badass bitch. You know, there's so many different facets to my style that I choose to stick in with drag and my aesthetic. Like, it can really go a lot of ways. So it's like, I am proud that my drag allows me to just kind of expand in whichever way I want and evolve in whatever way I want. My drag is my artistic outlet. I can like I'm pretty good with painting. I'm pretty good with like a little bit of sewing, not much, but a little. But it's like my art truly lies within makeup and drag transformation and artistry. So for me, it's my art form, it's my passion, it's my bread and butter. It's it's the first thing to me that just came naturally. And for it still being like a niche profession, it's kind of weird to me still in my head that it came to me so naturally, like entertainment, stage presence, aesthetic, polish, you know, because I started when I was 15 and now it's 8 years down the line and my career is slowly building and building and I'm still evolving. You know, there's still changes every single time I do my makeup. And it's like I'm happy that I've allowed my drag to not only be the thing that can influence others, but it influences me too. Like it always pushes me to do something I wouldn't expect myself to do. Like, I mean, I never expected myself to have a big giant afro of silver hair, but you know, I said I wanted disco and I wanted afro hair and I found silver hair and boop, now it's one of my staple wigs. So, you know, it's allowed me to expand who even Korey is at his root because Korey didn't give himself the attention he needed to until drag came into question. Because once I started seeing myself in a different body, in a different light, that's when the deep conversations and the very deep, I want to say almost traumatic conversations with myself happened because there was always that question of, oh, are you trans? Are you not trans? Like, what are you? Because I never felt fully masculine. I never felt fully like a male and it never made sense. And then 21 years old me, I go and hang out with my best friend and she shows me Steven Universe, which I don't know if you've watched that show, but that show opened my fucking eyes wide open to myself. I resonate with Lapis, Pearl, and Ruby, mainly Pink Pearl though, and I know that difference is important, but it no you know it took seeing myself in those fluid beings and seeing at the time it was season 12 of Drag Race Gigi Good who came out on the set and on like Drag Race season 12 as gender fluid, seeing those two influences combined made me realize, oh my god, I'm gender fluid. This is what this is, and this is why gender is a mental thing because I feel like I can fully comprehend both genders, feminine energy, masculine energy, male female physicality, you know. um and that's where I really truly found myself. So it really took drag to find me. So without it I wouldn't have known who I even was to this day, and I probably still would have been questioning, like, if not the trans stuff, who I was and why I probably wouldn't be comfortable in my body. I'd probably be still focused on those insecurities, you know. But drag has allowed me to erase those and create a new face, create a new body, and focus on a little bit more of a beautiful side of myself because it's still me, you know. And that's the beauty of drag. People want to say this is a mask and everything. It is a mask, but when you come to realize it's still you, just with this safety net, you feel so much more powerful. And it gives people that added power and that you always hear about drag queens talk about, and that confidence level, because you slowly can start to come into yourself without feeling like you're yourself. You know, you can stand up for yourself by feeling like someone else is standing up for you because it's really you, but painted as someone else. It almost takes you into a third perspective whenever encountering what you don't want to, instead of a first person. So I think drag allows people to broaden their minds in a way bigger perspective than they ever imagine. And that's why I encourage everyone to at least do it one time. Let one person who is really good with the makeup put you in there in the guiche and get to your face shape and just see yourself. Be real with yourself, because you're going to unfold this whole other side of yourself, whether it be a feminine energy, more masculine energy, or a more fluid energy, or a non-binary one. You're going to unlock a part of yourself regardless of what route you take. That's the magic that is drag. It puts the colors where they need to be in your soul. And that's what I told my best friend whenever she kind of started to see that shift too. I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm starting to become that rainbow personified. I'm jumping into all these different colors and feelings and expressions and emotions through these different songs and outfits and makeup styles. And I'm finally exploring the range that a human can like physically experience. Because as humans, we're not meant to just sit. We're meant to change and evolve. And this just kind of pushes that for me, because it gives me more opportunity to fully change who I am in the moment and then come right back if I want to. If I want to. Sometimes that ass do stay on for a little extra tip at the end of the night or an extra drink.
There's so much there. And thank you so much for
Anytime,
these incredible answers. I'm thrilled. With our time coming to a close, unfortunately, we've used all the time. With the time coming to a close, unfortunately, we use all the time. But I do want to ask, what do you bring to drag, and what does drag bring to you?
Okay, what I think I bring to drag is, I want to say, a new perspective on the newer generation. I think I hold a lot of old school values as a person with a new school aesthetic. So I think I can bridge the difference between old school, modern, and even more so what's going to come after. I think I'm here to help us transition, because I really don't see myself as a new generation. I don't see myself as old generation. I see myself as like kind of like that millennial in between the boomers and the Gen Zs. You know, it's like that good in between. I think I'm here to offer that perspective on drag. That's that in between, a meat of the two and a mentality of the two. Still mixing those all cut up, like reading in the dressing room, shady, like quotes and all this stuff, and then also the kindness and the love and compassion that all these new queens want to really push, and that's why I love the new queens. I think I bring that to drag, like that interesting middle ground perspective, like that in between. But I also think what I bring to drag is the perspective to give people that don't do this the opportunity to open themselves to encountering this. Like, I really feel like I am here to bridge the gap between people that don't understand this art form or our community and the people that do. I'm really good at teaching, and I feel like that's just my life purpose in general, is teaching, spreading experience, spreading perspective, and spreading stories that I've taken with me along the years that have bettered me as a person, and moving them along to people that might also influence the same way too. You know, at the end of the day, I push for passion and I push for positivity. And my favorite music festival, Bonnaroo, I really live by their motto: radiate positivity. Just radiate that shit. Let it flow.
Answers, the incredible wisdom. I would say that's $500 to $1,000 worth of game, just free game. And so with 3 minutes left, I share your voice community. How can we reach you? How can we support your mission and your vision?
All right. Well, as of right now, I am currently about to enter my first pageant on May 13th. Um, so I'm excited for that. If you would like to donate, because all the funds will go to the Pride pageant, and every $25 gets me an added point to my score. I'm already over $500 within a week. So I know I'm mind blown. So if anyone would like to help, the Cash App or PayPal is under Korra DeVil, my drag name, Korradevil. That is also what my Instagram is under. That is what my TikTok is under, except I think TikTok doesn't have an underscore, and then Instagram does in between Korra and DeVil. On Facebook, I'm also under Korey DeVil, but it's spelled with two L's because Facebook won't let me put devil. If you want to reach out and see this journey that I'm going on, you can give me a follow. I don't have YouTube. I don't have music yet. I would love to work on music in the future if anyone's out there. But you know, right now, if you would like to support, I'm mainly in St. Louis. I have a show this Saturday at Gray Fox with Chloe Curiosity and Blair Warner at Curious Chaos. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. I have a show on the 23rd up at Gray Fox again. I'll see y'all Shay. It's a Tuesday with Sarah Shay. Love her. And then I think other than that, I'll just be at the pageant this month. But if you want way in advance to support me, my birthday is July 20th. So remember that with the Cash App and that PayPal. And then not only that, but on July 16th, I'll be at the Little Bevo brunch up in St. Louis for their rock and roll theme show. And that's going to be my birthday show. So if you want to come and treat your girl to a drink or like some brunch, come on out and support. I know it's way down the road, but hey, plan ahead. Questions you have to ask. And I know there's still plenty more that we can get to.
So many more. So many
Who
more.
knows? You might be talking to Southern Illinois Pride Queen soon enough.
Yeah, so we'll see you in July. We will see you in July.
Oh yes, I'm excited
Thanks,
for it.
Louis.
They posted for the show flyers. That's mainly Facebook, so heads up on that. Instagram has some, but mainly Facebook.
And that's absolutely incredible. We're so thankful to have you again. So thank you to you, Korra, and thank you to the community for supporting St. Louis artists.
Yes, thank you.